Hey everyone, so excited to see you on here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat or leave it in the comments, and we'd love to get back to you. Today, I want to talk about a topic that actually has been on my mind for a little while, and it's how to never have remorse for any decisions that you make. I mean, how many of you have made bad decisions, right? Like, I have made some pretty bad decisions in my life. And sometimes you make those decisions and you're like, oh, I really wish that I never would have done that. But I want to give you a way that you can look at any decision that you make and you can make sure you don't have that remorse of like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have made that decision. And that is to look at the ROI. So what does that mean? ROI stands for return on investment. So what is your return on investment for that one thing? For that decision, what was it? And we hear a lot about return on investment in our business. Like if I spend $1 on Facebook ads and I end up making $5, that's a great return on investment, right? I had $1, now I have 5. So I gained 4 more dollars. That is your rate of return. So your return on investment. You also have other kinds of returns on investment. Think about if you do fairs and shows. If you spend, say, $100 to get into a show, and then you have all day that you're selling stuff and you end up making $400 after you paid off for all of your product and stuff like that, then that's a good return on investment, right? It was a great decision to do that show. Sometimes, and I've had this happen to me before, I paid $700 to get into a show, and I only made $100 after I had sold all of my product. That was not a good return on investment. So you can look at decisions and say, is this a good return or not? But you can also use it in your everyday life. It doesn't like necessarily have to be just what your business does. It doesn't have to be money-wise. It could be other things. What made me start thinking about this is last week I surprised my little girls and we took them to Disneyland. And they got the whole princess treatment. They got their hair done and sparkles, and they got like the crowns on their heads and their nails painted and makeup, and they were just in heaven. So it was $60 for them to do that. Now, some people may say, that's a lot of money. Some people may say like, oh, that wasn't like, that's pretty good for what you get. Like they got a backpack with all the stuff. But when they were done and they looked in the mirror and they did their little like princess wave and everything, that was my return on investment. That was worth the money. So when you make decisions, even if it's something like it was worth it to me, like if any of you moms out there have little girls and like you just want them to be like these little princesses and stuff like that, like it melted my heart. It was so worth it for me as a mom. And I'm sure you've had other experiences with your kids where you've been able to give them experiences that it didn't matter the cost, because what you got in return was so much more than what it actually cost you, even though it wasn't like a direct return, like you spend $1 on Facebook ads and you get $5 back. So look at the decisions that you're making. And maybe it's a bad decision that you made. Maybe you got married and you got a divorce and it was a horrible divorce and everything was about it was bad, but I'm sure that you learned some things. So think about, what was my return on investment? Maybe you invested 5 years of your life to this person. So what did you gain in return? And I guarantee that you can find some good things. Maybe it was just, I learned that in my next spouse, I need to look for this, this, and this. And it saved you a lot of time figuring that out because now you know exactly who you're looking for. So maybe that's one of those things. This also goes into really being grateful for every situation that you're in. I look at, if you've been following me on Facebook, you know that a few weeks ago we got evacuated from our home because of a fire. And the fire almost like wiped out my entire community. There was just miracle after miracle after miracle that it didn't. And I look at the return on investment of that fire. So the fire, yes, it was a horrible thing. And it made like 6,000 people be evacuated. That's a horrible thing, right? But then I look at the return on investment for that because of all the miracles and everything that happened. I have a son who didn't believe in God, and he does now because he saw the hand of God work in those miracles. That to me is like the best return on investment that I could have. So when you look at those things and you see there may be a bad thing, always look for the good. What's the return on the investment of that particular situation? And I've had times where I invested in a coach and she was thousands of dollars. And after about a month in, I realized, you know what? This really isn't for me. But because I had signed a contract, I had to stay in that contract. And I looked and I was like, there's no way I'm going to earn my money back because everything that she's teaching me is things that I already know. And I kind of had a bad attitude about it. But once I started looking at, okay, what's my return on investment? And I really started thinking, okay, what are the things that I can take and apply? Then I found that return on investment. And really, for me, I think it was a little bit premature because the things that I learned from her are things now, years later, I'm starting to implement. And it's making the way that I run my company so much better. So even though you may have done something that wasn't like the best thing, or maybe you invested in something that didn't work very well, and you were thinking, okay, this is what I thought, just like that show that I did that was $700 to get in and I only made $100. But I could look at, okay, what were the leads that I got? What were these things? And I know now, like, I won't do that show again, but I also learned a lot of things of what made the next show that I did better. So if you're analyzing this, and I think this is something that like we as normal moms, dads, like human beings just going through our normal life, we don't usually look at specific situations and analyze and be like, what was the return on investment of that? You know, that's not something that we normally do. But I found that when you look at whatever you're investing, whatever, if it's a big decision, you're like, I'm not sure if this is what I should do, look at what the return on investment is or what it could be. And if you have multiple outcomes of a great return on investment, then you know it's going to be a good thing. Because if you hit this outcome or this outcome or this outcome, and all of those things are positive, there's no way that you can have remorse on making that decision. And you always are looking for those things that you can do as a return on your investment. So if you guys have any questions about this, or you want to know how you can start applying some maybe strategies in your business and see, okay, I want to make some decisions where I can get a return on investment, right? Because who wouldn't want to spend $1 on Facebook ads and make $5 back every single time like clockwork, right? So if you want to learn something like that, I'm going to drop the link in the comments, but I have a webinar that we talk all about this, and we talk about return on investment and how to leverage your business and your time so that way you can actually have a business that runs on autopilot, that you're always getting that return on investment. So that link will be below, and we will talk to you guys all soon.